WPXI TV news out of Pittsburgh on YouTube. You can go to their YouTube channel. They did a story. 11 investigates digs into people wrongfully ticketed by automated cameras on school buses. Here is the link. I will put the link down below also. Pay attention to the bus camera video that starts at timestamp 050 to 1.05. Watch for the uniformed officer or the crossing guard stopping the school bus in traffic, and watch for where the school bus stops. And this address is 100 South Neagley Avenue, Pittsburgh, PA. Here is the intersection of 100 South Neagley Avenue, Pittsburgh, PA, where they had 433 incidents. You can see how it intersects into Penn Avenue, and we'll get a little more into the analysis here soon, but you have basically a divided highway, marked crosswalks, traffic lights, and again, another divided highway. However, Neagley doesn't appear to have a concrete barrier divided highway in it. So you have a lot of lanes intersecting into one massive point.
We wouldn't even have this issue. We wouldn't have had to deal with having to wake people up to the situation that we're dealing with. We should not even have this program because they should be following the law. It should be stopping. Sitting here worrying about where the money is going, we wouldn't even be having this if people did what they were supposed to do. This is really bothering me, sitting here, all of these other little questions of what's going on and where's the ticket going and all that. If you followed the law and stopped when our kids are getting on and off the bus, we would never even have to be here. I am absolutely appalled and angered that so many of these violations are going on and somebody's trying to come up with some excuses about whether or not somebody was okay when they drove by the bus.
Made this graphic up. Go ahead and pause it if you want to read through it. And check out some of the details. Really quick, we have the city of Pittsburgh on the left, the Pittsburgh Public Schools on the right, and the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, PennDOT, at the bottom right. City of Pittsburgh in 2020, the school crossing guards. Basically, the big change was in 2020 they reported to the Bureau of Police underneath the Department of Public Safety. In 2022, the school crossing guards no longer report to the Bureau of Police. They report directly to the Deputy Director of Community Operations and Administration. They structured it under the Bureau of Administration, which still falls under the Department of Public Safety. Then the sources are basically the operating budgets that show the flows of monies on that. I wanted to put this out here so you can see that they're not tied to the schools. There are two separate chain of commands here. Now, with the Pittsburgh Public Schools, they are the contract holders for the Stop Arm Camera program. Pittsburgh Public Schools have their own police department within the school systems. These are the people that will sign off on your ticket. However, I saw a ticket come out of Pittsburgh and I saw no signature on it. I've seen other states' tickets. They actually have an officer sign off on it. So I'm not sure how that works, how you can delegate which officer actually signed off on your ticket. But moving on. Dina Young, the interim school chief. Pittsburgh Public Schools had a big safety meeting with the cameras where they basically, there were a few people present. I will put note on which people were present here. Michael Manieri, the chief operations officer, was present. He is the one that basically said that the company approached him and said, you have a big issue, so then they started rolling out the cameras. Then we have Dr. Wayne Walters, the superintendent. It looks like Dina Young can bypass the chief operations officer to the superintendent. And finally, the board of directors, where Ms. Sylvia C. Wilson, District 1 representative, the committee co-chair of safety and operations. She is the one that was basically yelling at everybody to follow the law. So we'll get into that a little bit later, or we'll actually get into that next. We have the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, PennDOT. They wrote the school bus driver's manual, and they are in charge of the school bus safety grant. They will get $25 of every ticket. They are also your first I guess, the first organization you go through to appeal your ticket. I believe there's not a charge with it, but if you don't like their ruling, you can take it to a magistrate. The school police, who are paid for by the public schools who own the contract, get $25 of every ticket they sign off on. Then of the remaining $250 of the $300 ticket, 50% goes to the public schools, 50% goes to the company, and of the 50% that goes to the public schools, that is also used to pay maintenance costs or technology fees. I will be doing a review of a contract so you can actually see how absorbent a no-cost contract can be. This is the Pennsylvania School Bus Driver's Manual, published by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. It is publication 117, and I believe this is the edition from February of 2024. Okay, I went ahead and jumped us down to Unit C, page C-10. We're looking at figure C-3, drivers stopping for a school bus at intersections and traffic ways. Now, the first bullet here talks about how if there's a physical barrier and you're on the approach of the bus or coming towards the bus from the opposite flow of traffic, and like I said, there's like a divide. The road's divided into two roadways with a physical barrier, such as concrete, medium barrier, etc. You should proceed with caution, but you don't have to stop. But then it gets into the second part here that says you should always stop at an intersection if a bus is unloading. But, you know, they put these pictures up in idealistic worlds. But the question is, if you're at an intersection and there's a divided highway on both sides, should you have to stop for that? Because the bus is technically behind that barrier. Again, there's a lot of confusion with this. But the reason why I jumped to this section and like I said, this goes with the video that I told y'all to watch on this, is this line here. You, as a school bus driver, should not be stopping in the middle of an intersection. So we're going to take that and then we're going to add something else to it next. So let's go ahead and jump into that.
Follow the doggone law, keep to the law, make sure our kids are safe. That's what we should be worrying about. We wouldn't even be dealing with any money and fines if people did what they were supposed to do.
All right, everyone. This is Pennsylvania Law, Title 75, Vehicles, Section 3345, Meeting or Overtaking School Bus. This is not 3345.1, which is part of the camera thing, but this is pretty much the mechanics of the school bus operations, minus the camera part. So let's go ahead and scroll on down. Now I want to read a few sections on here, the first being with signals. Use of the red signal. That's a signal that tells you need to stop, usually before they pull the stop arm out. The red visual signal shall be actuated by the driver of every school bus whenever the vehicle is stopped. Okay? Then we have section D, use of the amber signals. The amber visual signal shall be actuated by the driver of every school bus not more than 300 feet nor less than 100 feet prior to making the stop. So the alternating yellow lights warning everybody I'm coming to a stop has to basically run no less than 150 feet, but no more than 300 feet before the stop. And then they'll stop and then put their red signals on and pull their arm. Now, Section E. This is limitation on use of signals. So this is when you shouldn't be running them, I guess. The visual signals required in the regulations shall not be actuated on streets in urban districts designated by the Department of Local Authorities, or, comma, I like to put or between this, at intersections or other places where traffic is controlled by uniformed police officers or appropriately attired persons authorized to direct, control, or regulate traffic. Or in school loading zones, loading areas designated by the Department of Local Authorities when the bus is entirely off the road. So you're not supposed to run your signals or actuate your signals at intersections or other places where traffic is controlled by a uniformed police officer or appropriately attired persons authorized to direct, control, or regulate traffic. And in the video, the first thing you see while the bus is coming to a stop is a uniformed, I believe it was a crossing guard, who is a uniformed officer with those delegated authorities, coming into the road to stop traffic. So we'll analyze that a little bit more. Okay, this is a more detailed graphic of Pennsylvania Avenue and South Neagley Avenue. The yellow rectangle is the school bus that was present in the video. The black dot with the black circle with the orange dot in the center is the crossing guard. The red line indicates the barrier for the divided highway. That's present there. I believe it's like a concrete barrier. And I went ahead and I made this teal box here. Basically covers the intersection. I call that the kill box. I also put a red X in a rectangle basically right before and right after the intersection. So let's go ahead and analyze this. In the video, the school bus proceeds through the intersection and is stopped by a crossing guard coming out into the road, and they stop a car right here as well. So the bus stops, immediately pulls out its stop arm, and the crossing guard's there. Then what happens is the traffic lights allow for green flow, or they change green, the signals change green, and then Pennsylvania Avenue proceeds through the intersection. Now everybody in Pennsylvania Avenue is under the impression they're okay because there is a divided highway present. Well, what's the rules? Well, the rules are that if a crossing guard's in the intersection, the school bus shouldn't be running its signals at all. Now, I believe that they should still run the signals to let people know they're stopping and they've stopped, but a company shouldn't be ticketing you for that because it conflicts with Section 75-3345 of Pennsylvania law. The other issue is the school bus is stopped in the intersection. But that kind of, which the school bus driver's manual says it shouldn't happen. So what happens is the school bus has been stopped in a vulnerable area that basically opens up any flows of traffic subject to a possible penalty because of the divided highway, the absence of the divided highway. The rules also say that, or the manual, or the driver's manual also says that you should stop at an intersection no matter what. But the question I have is if a school bus is stopped on either of these X marks, giving that barrier of protection, is the opposite side allowed to flow freely then through the intersection? These are some of those technicalities that I believe legislators should have figured out by now and at least updated in a more real-world situation your driver's manuals. Okay.